Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and today we are going to be analyzing my Clash Royale 2021 20-win challenge replays with 3.0 Xbow Cycle. So, I did win the challenge just about 10 days, 18 hours, 57 minutes ago, so it was just over a week back. Right now, as of the time I'm recording this, Season 29 has just ended as we're entering into the Clashmas season. Which means that balance changes are also coming tomorrow. Unfortunately, the Tesla, our beloved card that's pretty much carrying Xbow right now, in a big way, is getting nerfed. It's getting I would say they called it a slight nerf. I would say it's actually a pretty big nerf. It's a 9% hit speed nerf. There's no way to know for sure without checking all of the exact interactions, but I think it's 9% is a pretty big amount when usually they do changes in the 3 to 4% range, but we'll have to see. But it is definitely a big hit to Xbow, unfortunately, and I am planning on making a video probably discussing that or just trying out the new Tesla. Either way, though, that nerf is coming, which means that there will be a maintenance break tomorrow as well, which means all of my replays will be gone. So I have shared all of my replays in my clan, and I wanted to kind of analyze them with commentary, again, as I said. Now, I know it has been quite a while since I've made kind of consistent commentary videos. That's also because my PC is still currently not fully working yet. I'm still in the process of getting it fixed. So I don't really have a way of using my microphone that I usually use in my other videos. So in the meantime, if you guys remember my Goblin Giant Sparky minor video analysis where I analyzed that match, I kind of did it just by speaking into my phone's microphone, which I'm doing right now again. So I apologize if the quality isn't that great or not consistent, but it's the best I can do right now. So in any case, these are all of my replays, which I have shared. So I'll be going over most of my games. I guess I'll also go over my losses, because why not? Although there was this one game where I lost at 2 wins. I literally started at 2-1, and I was still able to win. So that's another thing, I guess. Don't give up, even if you lose early on in these kind of challenges. I know it's finished, but anyway. I guess I'll also be going over how I lost that early on. But yeah, that's a pretty long intro, I guess. So let's just get into the matches. So here is the fateful one, the 20th win against this deck, which is probably in the top 3 most popular decks in the challenge. I don't know the exact numbers, but this deck was literally everywhere when I was playing the challenge. So let's get into this replay. A lot of people have also been asking me how to beat this matchup, so I guess that helps, and we can just skip ahead. So cycling Ice Spirit in the back, first play, just because why not? These are all kind of safe plays, Ice Spirit, Log, Skeletons, without really knowing what they have. Skeletons can kind of be punished by a Mother Witch, which is annoying, but usually people don't do it anyway. And if they do, you have responses. But I just go for a Knight since my opponent's not playing anything, and Xbow is kind of a single elixir deck, does really well. So I want to capitalize on that. Now, notice that he goes Golden Knight in the back, and I just go Tesla. There's no point cycling anything else. I don't really want to cycle Archer's same lane, since that would just give him poison value, and I don't want to split them either, since only one would go to the Golden Knight and the other would kind of be wasted. So Tesla is just a very safe play in that case. So my opponent goes for, looks to be a Mother Witch on my Knight, and I Fireball, and I promise I actually know how to hit Fireballs, but this time obviously I didn't. But this actually could kind of be what helped me win the game. So you'll notice that I missed the Fireball on the Mother Witch, right? And so it's obviously still alive, I still have to deal with it. Now my opponent goes Ram Rider at the bridge, which is a very valid play. It would be pretty aggressive, especially since I have a Tesla up, but he does still have the Mother Witch alive, so I'm also kind of denied from playing my Skeletons right now. And you'll notice that my opponent goes for a Poison, which is, I would say, a very aggressive play. If you notice, he's literally at 1 elixir right now. So that was a huge mistake. I do understand the thought process that my opponent had, since I did miss a Fireball. I think I only hit the Golden Knight, but I still think that was a huge overspend considering his elixir bar, and I still have this Tesla not completely dead yet. So I go for an Ice Spirit to reset the Ram. No, I don't actually. Okay. I thought I would have gone for an Ice Spirit, but instead I go for an Xbow. Actually, it's kind of good that I didn't go for the Ice Spirit. Let's see what happens. I'm going to take a ton of damage in the left, but it's not enough to take my full tower, and my Xbow locks on. Now you'll notice that I go Skeletons and Ice Spirit for his Barb Barrel. That's huge. I guess that's why it was really good that I didn't use my Ice Spirit, even though I thought I might have. Could have helped to reset. Actually, okay, the Ram Rider has a snare, and the Mother Witch was still alive. So actually, if I went for an Ice Spirit, the Ram Rider snare and Mother Witch would have killed it and just turned it into a Cursed Hog. So never mind, definitely shouldn't have gone Ice Spirit there, and I guess that's what I was thinking at the time. But you'll notice that the opponent goes for Royal Ghost Barb Barrel. Royal Ghost is obviously invisible, which means the Xbow targets right into the tower, gets a lock, and I have my Knight in cycle. It's already cycled back, so I'm instantly going for it at the bridge to block, and my opponent's really low in elixir, and this kind of Barb Barrel placement isn't able to be defended fully unless you go for both a log and something else to retarget it, or you go for both cycle cards as you see here. If you go for just skeletons, it'll hit one of the skeletons and then go onto the Xbow. So that's one case where having both cycle cards helped big time. And now I'm getting a huge connection, as you can see. And this is where awareness of the opponent's elixir and cycle really comes into play. I always say this when I'm making tips videos, but being aware of your opponent's card cycle and elixir count are both paramount to having a lot of success with Xbow. You need to know when to play what. If you can, obviously just kind of go off your instincts and guess, but if you have a clearer picture of what they have, it's obviously going to help. So I know that my opponent just spent... So first of all, I knew that my opponent was at 1 elixir, which is why I went for an Xbow. That I didn't explain, but I think it was pretty self-explanatory. I just went in because I knew he wouldn't take my full tower, and he would have very little elixir and very little resources to defend my Xbow. Now I know that after he played Royal Ghost and Barb Barrel, he's probably at about the same elixir as me. And given his cycle, I know that he doesn't have a threatening way of killing my Xbow except for the Ewas. If he went for Golden Knight, I could just distract it, and it could maybe kill my Xbow, but it would still not retarget it. Mother Witch, same, pretty low damage per second, and wouldn't deal with it immediately. So Ewas is kind of the only option he has. So he goes for an Ewas, and I go for Archers predicting it, which is perfect prediction, as you can see. I take out the Ewas, my opponent gives me the well played, and I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but that was actually a really good play with those Archers. And my opponent is kind of in awe, I guess, in shock at what happened. I took his entire tower, and I'm even up half an elixir or so. So now I just have to defend, which is honestly pretty easy against this deck. He's probably going to P.E.K.K.A in the back. Yeah, so he's going to start a big push. And I just go for a Tesla, and I'm probably going to go for Xbow now defensively. So we'll see. I don't remember exactly what happens in these replays, by the way, so I don't have them off the top of my head. So I'll just be going over what I see. But yeah, I go for an defensive Xbow, anti-poison to my left side tower, which means if the opponent goes for a poison, he can't hit my left tower and my Xbow. He's going to have to choose between my tower and Tesla or my Xbow and Tesla. He chooses my Xbow and Tesla, and you'll notice that now that his poison is out of cycle, I can go for Archers in the same lane with almost no recourse. He can't really punish them. He can go for Golden Knight to dash on everything, but this is where distracting comes in big. So I'm really glad that the Golden Knight didn't dash into my Archers. If it did, I think that would have been pretty stupid, honestly, because that would be a really overpowered kind of dash from that range. But yeah, I just logged back at the Ram Rider to reset it, go for Archers in the same lane, go for an Ice Spirit to kite everything inwards, and Archers clean up the Golden Knight. I go for a Knight on top just in case he wants to go for a dash. It has an 8-second cooldown, but I just wanted to play it safe. And now I go for an Xbow, again, defensive Xbow, and Fireball his Mother Witch. I also hit his Ram Rider, which was really good for me. I can just log this Ram back. And now he's getting very desperate, just playing at the bridge, kind of hoping to get my tower, but I'm obviously not going to let it happen, and I'm playing my cycle cards away from my tower, so that if he does go for the dash, it's going to dash away and not onto my tower. Now I go for an offensive Xbow, just because why not? I have a defensive Xbow alive, and the game is definitely over. My defensive Xbow takes out his Mother Witch too. I just let this Xbow die, of course. That's another thing that you need to know. letting Xbows die. Instead of going like Tesla at the bridge, I went for lower Tesla, which was much more helpful. So this is not really like a set in stone game plan against this deck. It was everywhere. I'm not sure if it's everywhere right now. I haven't played too much. When I did play ladder on the last day of the season, I pushed about 400 trophies or 500 total between my two accounts. I don't think I played this deck even once, but it's not really a set game plan against that deck, but rather just kind of how I was able to beat it. Thanks to my awareness of his elixir, primarily, and then also a cycle with that Ewiz. But even if he didn't go for an Ewiz, I think those archers still would have been a really good play, since my opponent's best play in that situation was definitely to defend my Xbow, and he did not have any other option. But here I lost against Golem, Night Witch, Clone, Skeleton King, Arrows, Flying Machine, Bats. And you'll notice that I'm playing Classic 3.0 with Ice Spirit, so obviously this deck is definitely not going to be a good matchup in any way. You might as well watch the replay, I guess, at double speed, just to kind of see what happened, but I really don't think there is a lot that I could have done here. I think this is a really bad matchup, and I don't know what he has when he goes for Skarmy, Skeleton King, so I'm just playing it safe and going for a Tesla. I don't have Fireball and Cycle, unfortunately, for the Flying Machine, but I just log everything back, and I'm pretty sure I go for a Cycle card. So one quick note about dealing with a Flying Machine, you want to let it cross onto your tower, onto your side of the map, so that your tower can target it before playing troops. If you play troops kind of panicky and just randomly, you won't be able to defend it well, and it'll get a lot of value. So you kind of have to know, based on experience, the right timing to defend with those, as you can see. So I go for archers, and I've kind of figured out that it's going to be some kind of clone deck, since I already see Flying Machine Golem. That's pretty much the only Golem deck that Flying Machine is in. So I go for my archers in the same lane, since I know he's probably going to use arrows. I can get back to another pair. And I go for a Fireball Log on his Night Witch, and I'm back to archers for his bats. So that was a decent defense. I mean, I took quite a bit of damage, but there wasn't a lot I could have done. And I'm pretty sure I try and go in for an Xbow now when he goes for Golem again. Yeah, because I don't really have any other option, I think. Like, my archers were pretty far out of cycle, so I couldn't have cycled back to them without them getting arrows. If I had them in cycle, I definitely would have played them and gotten back to another pair again. But I didn't have that option, so it didn't really make sense to go defensively when I didn't have a great cycle. And that's kind of the issue with Golem Clone anyway. You need to kind of commit those pairs of archers, and without the Electro Spirit, for example, if I had Electro Spirit, I could have just gone E-Spirit on the bats instead of using my archers, but didn't have a choice, so now I go in, and I Fireball the Flying Machine. That could have been an overcommitment, but I still need to take tower, so I don't know. I go for archers, and I'm pretty sure he goes for arrows. Let me slow it down a bit. And here's where it's honestly really awkward for me, because I don't know what I should be fireballing. I really want to fireball the Night Witch and Golemites, because that's what I'm always used to in these Golem decks, but at the same time, I want to fireball the bats in the right as well. And again, if I had Electro Spirit, this would be a lot easier, because I could just fireball the Night Witch, Electro Spirit the bats, and then just log back the Skeleton King when he uses the ability. Instead, I go for Fireball, and try and defend the Night Witch. He goes for his clone, and there's really nothing I can do here. I lose pretty much both my towers. My right tower takes a lot of damage, and I did take his tower, but there's obviously no coming back from this, so I try and defend, but there's just no use, like, especially in a 1-1 tower situation. Maybe if I ignored the Flying Machine, well, I don't think that would have been the right play, honestly. Here I go for a Desperation Expo, but there's really not much that's happening there at all. Yeah, the game is over. I was pretty upset, because I was, I think, at 19 wins and 1 loss. So this put me at 19-2, which was pretty stressful, since, of course, 1 loss after that would have meant I would have lost my challenge at 19 wins. But maybe I could have not fireballed the Flying Machine when defending my Xbow. But I was able to get back to a fireball anyway on his Skeleton King and bats in the right. So I think honestly, there wasn't much I could have done. Bats are really annoying for Expo with Ice Spirit in some matchups, especially clone ones. So I think just having E-Spirit would have probably been the only thing I could have done differently there. But in any case, let's move on. That was one of the losses, and honestly, it's fine. You kind of have to accept that you're going to have some losses like that. No deck has a perfect matchup spread. Expo does still have its really hard counters that are not really going to be able to be beaten if your opponent plays really well. But let's see this one against Wizard, who has Graveyard Freeze. This is a much different note of a matchup than the Golem Clone one. This is a really good matchup for Expo. Not sure on the exact percentage, maybe like 65-35 or 70-30. It's definitely easier with E-Spirit again, but because of the fact that he has Graveyard and no freeze, no big spell, you can really abuse not only archers against the Graveyard, but also defensive Expos if you have to. Here he goes for a Baby Dragon, and I go for an Expo because if it's a Golem deck, or Electro Giant, even though E-Giant doesn't really run Baby Dragon right now, I don't think I've seen any decks, or maybe one or two that run it, but in any case, I wanted to find out what he had, and if he had some kind of big tank deck, like a Royal Giant, I just would have let the Expo go. So I think it was a pretty decent play to Expo there, and as you can see, my opponent does not have his main Expo counter Bowler in hand, so really bad hand for him. He goes for an Ewiz, and instead of fireballing, I go for an Ice Spirit. I think that's a really good play as well, I wanted to say, because if I fireballed, that would have been a huge commitment. That would have been 10 for 4 with my Expo and Fireball against Ewiz. And it is the start of the game again, so I really don't know what he has. There's no point making those kinds of plays when you don't know what the opponent's going to have. So lightly defending with the Ice Spirit is better. And my Expo just dies, that's fine. Tried to kite the Baby Dragon. It did kind of work for a bit, but not that much. But I'm up 2 Elixir after that exchange, and now I know that Baby Dragon Ewiz Freeze. What deck runs those cards? And it's pretty much only Graveyard Freeze, this exact variation, I'm pretty sure. So I already knew what his deck was. And that's the benefit of playing that kind of Expo. Now he goes for Inferno Dragon in the back, and I know his cycle. He just cycled Inferno Dragon. Firstly, I know that my Archer will single-handedly be able to defend his Inferno Dragon. If not, I can always use a cycle card or something since they are in my cycle. So that's a positive Elixir trade for me. So I know that he has Bowler or Valk, and they're probably going to be inclined to go for a Bowler. So if I'm not mistaken, I predict with a Knight. Yeah, I do, because I knew what his deck was at this point. I wouldn't have made this play at the start, but I knew what his deck was now, so it was worth making that play. And he plays a decent Tornado. Unfortunately for him, the Bowler doesn't fully finish off my Expo, and he is pretty mad. Here I go for Skeletons instead of Ice Spirit, since I think if I went for an Ice Spirit, I don't know the exact interaction if the Inferno Dragon would have fully died. So I wanted to go Skeletons instead, so that it would have eliminated any kind of possibility of him going for a Freeze. Now, he didn't have Freeze and Cycle, but I wasn't really counting his Cycle that heavily. More so just kind of trying to see what the best situation for myself would have been in that case, and I also have Ice Spirit that I can play to pressure at the bridge and get some chip damage, so that's another benefit of playing Skeletons in that case. So I think I do cycle it. Yeah, I do. And he goes for a Baby Dragon. I'm just going to Tesla. I don't want to... This is, again, kind of the importance of knowing what to cycle with Expo decks. I don't want to go for Archers, since I know he has a Graveyard deck, and Archers are my best response, so why would I waste them into a Baby Dragon when I have Tesla? And he doesn't really have anything else I need the Tesla for anyway, so that's the absolute best play in that situation. This Tesla placement, by the way, will pull the Baby Dragon's targeting, so I won't need to play anything else. If you play Tesla in the middle, you will need to pull the Baby Dragon in, but here you can see that it works. And this, I would say, was a really bad Valkyrie by my opponent. Now, let me see what his cycle was. Okay, he could have played either Ewiz or Valk. Now, honestly, both of those would have been pretty bad cards to cycle, but I guess he had to cycle something, but Valk was definitely worse, because it's his main tank. Bowler's out of cycle. He has no good tanks left right now for my Expo, so of course I'm going to go in since he wastes a Valk. He's going to have to go for an Ewiz up high, And he does, and I can just log that back pretty easily. And he goes for a bowler, and I let this die, of course, because he has a big push coming in. I know I'm not going to be able to defend it that well, so I might as well just let it die. And kind of cycle back to an Xbow, because actually, if you notice, he just wasted both Valk and Bowler, so I can cycle back to my win con way faster than he can cycle back to those cards. So I even play my skeletons here just to DPS, no I didn't mean to close, just to DPS down the Bowler and Ice Spirit, and I go in right away. And now you notice he has no tank in hand, so he's forced to play a Baby Dragon up high. And he's really mad. He's probably going to freeze here. I go for a Tesla, and I'm probably going to Fireball, because that would be a pretty good Fireball. Yeah, I do. And he goes for a Tornado. He is really mad. That is going to be a big connection. I'm just kind of having fun with my emotes, but that's basically already game. I just have to defend and spell cycle, so I go for a defensive Xbow. That's what I was talking about at the start as well. Defensive Xbows in this matchup are really good because they don't have a big spell. So they're really going to be effective at not only DPSing down his tanks, but also his graveyards. Here I Fireball his Baby Dragon last minute, because I know that I need 2 Fireballs to win, so I might as well just get the first one out of the way. He goes for an Inferno Dragon Graveyard, which is probably his best play, given the situation, especially since I just cycled a Fireball on the left. But I do have my Archers, and that is going to be a really good response. Graveyard Freeze is 9 Elixir, and Archers are 3, so that is a +6 trade. Also, by the way, you always want to kind of have login cycle for when they go for graveyards, just because after they freeze or poison on your archers, you want to be able to log the accumulated skeletons. And now there's only one thing I need to do to ensure that I win, and that is not to lose to the Inferno Dragon. So I realized that pretty soon, and I instantly go for a Knight. I also go for the log I was talking about, and that Knight just denies any possibility of losing to that Inferno Dragon. So he's really mad. I mean, honestly, to be fair, that's a pretty good matchup for me. So I guess it's understandable, but I just played it pretty smart, went in at the right times based on his cycle, and worked out pretty well. Again, that first Xbow was really good by me, and also not over-defending it was really good, since I was able to find out what he had. So that is the benefit of those early game Xbows if you don't know what the opponent's running. On top ladder, people usually know what the other person is playing just because they have a lot of experience, but in these kind of challenges where you can play anyone, or for all of you guys who are watching who don't necessarily play at top 200 ladder, I mean, even I don't most of the time, so if you don't know what the opponent has, it's always good to kind of learn the ways that you can learn what they do have. So here's a match for my 18th win. That was my 19th win, by the way, against Minor Balloon Cycle. This is kind of an interesting version. It's used, I believe, in the Japanese community a fair amount. That's pretty much the only time I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure this opponent is in a Japanese clan as well. But yeah, he was actually a pretty good player. He did get the 20 wins in the end, so congrats to him. But yeah, this version I never really play against much, but I think the way I managed it was pretty effective, so let's see how I did that. So starting the game out, I have decent cycle. I believe I cycle Ice Spirit first. At the bridge. At the back. Okay, actually at the back is even safer than at the bridge. So I just played these challenges extremely safely. That's just how I like to do it. I go for a Knight into his Valkyrie. And he goes for a pretty aggressive balloon. Luckily I did have Tesla in cycle, so I go for both Archers and Tesla. He goes for a Miner, which is pretty aggressive, but actually pretty good, since he also zapped my Archers away, and I had to Fireball that balloon. So you kind of have to recognize these situations. Okay, he killed my Archers, and his Miner was targeting on my tower, taking my tower's targeting. I had to Fireball there, otherwise his balloon would have killed my Tesla and gone on to my tower. And it was just better to Fireball before the Tesla died as opposed to after, since the Tesla would still get value if I kept it alive that way. So that's why I did that. I just cycle log, and I'm going opposite lane, so you'll notice that I already switched with my log, and probably also my Ice Spirit, yeah. And he goes for a Valk, which didn't actually take the Ice Spirit, so decent shit for me, I guess. That's why I used the Ice Spirit emote. And I either split archers here, or actually, yeah, I just go skeletons because it's safer than splitting archers. Since I might want to have archers in hand for if he builds a balloon push. So he goes for a balloon now. You'll notice that he placed his executioner too low, actually. Let's see where he placed it, actually. It probably wasn't even a bad placement. It was probably just kind of preemptive. Okay, yeah, that was kind of a normal placement, but I noticed that I think it's out of my Xbow's range. So I go in, I get a connection, and I fireball this balloon back. That's a play that I love to make as well. Fireballing a balloon back on your offensive Xbow. By the way, don't always do this. Only do it in some situations, which is kind of how it goes for most Xbow decks. In general, you don't want to make plays all the time. You just want to see when they're best suited. So you kind of have to learn all of these plays if you want to be a good Xbow player, and then learn when the best time to use them is. So this time, he has nothing tanking for my Xbow. It's on tower, and I want to maximize the value of my Xbow. Now, I could wait for the balloon to kill my Xbow and then fireball it back, which would achieve the same result, except I would get even less damage. So why not just fireball it right away? And that's what I did. I even went for an Ice Spirit to reset it even more. And notice that the Xbow plus log almost fully kills the Eggsy as well. I was kind of mad there because I was a bit late on my skeletons. My mind was probably focused on my Xbow lock more so than the executioner, so I didn't have skeletons at the right time, but I still only took one Eggsy hit, and I'm up in damage overall, so definitely a good situation for me. Now it's probably best for me to cycle my archers, except for the fact that he cycled a Valk, so instead I go for a knight. So again, reaction time as well is pretty important to determine what you're cycling and where. Now I go for archers, same lane, because if he wants to build a push, they're going to get a lot of value, and even otherwise, he doesn't really have a good way of killing my archers. He could NATO zap them, or miner zap them, but those are pretty high commitment plays anyway, and archers in the same lane get a ton of value against all balloon decks, pretty much. Even LavaLoon, it's just that LavaLoon decks might have arrows or fireball, but against a lot of Loon Cycle decks, you'll notice this is something that I learned from Aragon when he was watching me play against LumberLoon, and I was splitting archers a lot. It was like a LumberLoon Cycle deck, not the Bull or Freeze one. I was splitting archers a lot, and I was in a pretty bad spot, and then he told me, why are you splitting archers? You'd get way more value if you played them in the same lane, and that's exactly what I started doing, and I noticed that I have a lot more success now. So that's just something to take away, something that I learned. Could help you guys too in specific matchups. And I go for a defensive Xbow. He probably goes for a NATO. Yeah, pretty good NATO by him, honestly. And I just want to explain quickly this defensive Xbow placement is a bit more towards the left than in the middle and on the left. So normally it would be one more tile to the right. That would be the standard left side but middle placement of the defensive Xbow. I like to do this placement against balloon decks because if you guys don't know, there's a balloon placement that you can play it kind of bypassing buildings that are played too far away, and the bypass placement would bypass the defensive Xbow if it was one tile more to the right. So this placement denies any kind of bypass. I don't know if it denies if they push it with bats, but I don't think that bypasses it either, actually. Or at least if it does, you'll have other ways to deal with it. But I just really like this placement because it covers all situations and doesn't make you have to overcommit to anything. I just lightly defend my Xbow. He zaps it away, that's fine. I'm still in a really good spot. Now I split archers because if I cycled a knight, I wouldn't have it for his Valk, so it's a better play there. And I go for a knight now. See what he does. Here I actually go for an offensive Xbow at the exact same time that he went for an executioner, so I don't think my reaction time is that great that I would do it like 0.1 seconds after he cycled Eggsy, so I think I just got kind of lucky that he cycled an executioner there. Notice that I made that Ice Spirit play. I pulled the Valk, let's just watch that again. I pulled the Valkyrie out of Xbow's range so that it locks on a tower. That's a play that I love making. Again, not all the time, but in some situations it's really good, especially if you can use something like an Ice Spirit, just to lightly pull something out of range. You don't have to always do it with a Knight or Tesla or something, but that was just really nice. And I fireball everything, hitting the miner as well. Go for archers too, and my Xbow gets yet another connection, so that's huge. I'm in a really good damage lead now, and I can just go for skellies on this Exy to fully deny it, hopefully. I think it might still get one hit. No, it doesn't. And just go for a knight, just kind of resetting, just kind of playing it out, but going in at the right times. Now that he's kind of blocking up the lane, I'm going to go defensive again instead of going in. He goes opposite lane. That is the bypass placement I was talking about, by the way. He played it kind of far away instead of just at the bridge. And that kind of would bypass if I played my defensive Xbow too far away. But anyway, you might be wondering, what do I do if I go for a defensive Xbow, or I go for a defensive Tesla, and they go for a balloon opposite lane? And the answer is, most of the time, just pull it into your Xbow or Tesla with the other building. So this time I pull it in with my Tesla, and even Ice Spirit, because my tower's targeting the miner, and that goes really well. Now I'm probably going to go in, just because I have a surviving defensive Xbow, why not? I do, and he goes for a balloon, so you'll notice that balloons on the Xbows are really annoying, and it's hard to deal with, so you usually have to let it die in those situations, unfortunately. But you can try and outcycle the balloon or get an advantage by having a Tesla up. And here, I have a surviving Tesla. I believe I Ice Spirit and then Xbow. Although, actually no I don't, because the Tesla died. That would have been too aggressive anyway. I go for a defense Xbow instead then. So I'm playing this pretty passively, but I did pick my spots when I went in. And I didn't over-defend them when I did go in. So here again, just Tesla. Once the Xbow dies, Loon will go opposite lane. And it goes really well. And now I just have to defend the rest of the game. There's no way he'll be able to outdamage me as long as I log cycle and even fireball cycle. Here's a play that I really like. I block the Valkyrie at the bridge so that my tower would target onto his balloon instead. You'll notice that, well, it targets the miner, but it's way better than having the Valkyrie tanking for either of those. So sometimes you can bridge block if you know they're going to go for a balloon. If they go like Mega Knight balloon or something like that, you can go for a Knight to block it. Not saying to do this all the time again, by the way. Pick your spots, but just a play that I really like making. And again, I go for archers in the same lane. You'll see that the DPS down the balloon really fast. And now I notice I have a pretty big counter push, so I'm probably going to go in. Okay, I don't, but I guess I wanted to play this really safely and slowly, which is fine. Here I do kind of go in. You can also do this placement, where you go with an offensive placement that will pull a balloon that's placed all the way at the edge, and it also pulls it into my Tesla, and it forced out his cannon, so it was really good. There's only 20 seconds left. There's no chance he's going to be able to outdamage me, even though he is catching up. I have 2 Teslas alive now, and I can very much just fireball his tower very safely, and log, and I just defend his next miner, and there's no way he's going to be able to outdamage me. So I'm pretty proud of how I played that. I even got another fireball down, which is cool. I'd say I played that pretty well. Things to take away from that are the defensive Xbow placement I was talking about, as well as pulling balloons into your opposite lane defense with the other building. So again, like I said, let's say you pre-cycle a Tesla on the left and they go balloon in the right, you can always pull it into your Tesla with an Xbow. So don't panic, just kind of know your placements and it should be pretty good. So that was my 18th win, I believe. Here's one against LumberLoon freeze. And a lot of it is the same kind of mechanics as what I just went over with that LumberLoon, miner balloon game, where you have to know your defensive placements and know when to go in. But this matchup is really easy if you play it well, since they don't have a big spell. They don't have any way of actually dealing with your buildings except for playing troops on them. They can freeze, and you have to be careful of that. But other than that, if you know how to play, it should be pretty good. And I go for an Xbow because he's leaking, just to find out what he has. Bowler Barb Barrel. There is really no deck that runs Bowler Barb Barrel except for this deck. Maybe like some kind of off-meta deck, or I don't even know what else really runs Bowler these days, so I pretty much realized it was LumberLoon anyway, and if I didn't, now that he plays Lumberjack, I knew for sure. So I go in with my knight just to deal with his Lumberjack, and I probably split archers here, yeah, and I might Xbow in the right. Do I? No, I don't. I actually don't. And I guess it's safer not to. I was gonna say maybe since he had no tanks in hand I could have Xbowed, but I guess it's safer not to. There's no downside, I just Tesla. And you can see I'm already in the damage lead just by log cycling and getting stray damage here and there. So there's really no downside to just playing these matchups really safely. And here he goes for a bowler in the back, so I might go in, or actually I go defensive. And that's probably for the best, since if I went in, you could have gone balloon, then I would have had to commit to killing the balloon, as well as still committing to the bowler in the left. So I'm just playing this really defensively. And it's probably for the best. Just knight for the bowler, and archers to DPS down, whatever, or log and skeletons. I actually went for a log, and now I go for archers because I'm trying to activate king off this E-drag. If I split archers, the E-drag will probably chain to the archers instead, and if I archers on it, I obviously won't be able to activate, so that was my idea. Unfortunately, he caught on to it and he went in, which was a really good play. Yeah, I played the angry face because I knew it was a good play by him and I wanted to activate my king. But either way, just still really easy defense. Just fireball it back if they freeze. Very basic things and no worries there. So I'm log cycling. I'm already up about 500 damage just by log cycling. And I like to pre-Tesla a lot and pre-defensive Xbow again, like I said. There's no real downside. This one was actually in the middle. So if he goes in the right, I can just fireball it to my Tesla. That's another thing, by the way. If you go for a pre-Tesla in the middle, and they go for a balloon, you can fireball it into your Tesla, and it'll still get targeted. So that's another play you can do. I personally prefer to go with defensive Xbows and Teslas in 2 lanes, instead of going for the center Tesla, just because it's the way I prefer to do it. But I've seen Best NA a long time ago against Minor Balloon. He would pre-Tesla and single and fireball the balloon into his Tesla. So there are other different options you can do. I guess it's up to your personal preference, but the way I prefer is just to go in both lanes usually. So here I have just a big setup of buildings. He goes for a freeze, which is decent, but there's still no real way he can break through. Here I go for an Xbow since I have a surviving defensive Xbow and a surviving Tesla. And there's really no downside since I'm up, as long as I don't overcommit to it. Here is a really good play by me. You'll notice that because of the fact that he went for an E-drag, I could now get fireball value on both his bowler and E-drag. And I know that 2 archer hits plus a fireball will leave the E-drag at 1 HP. So I just need to get another archer hit as well as with that fireball, and it'll go down. So that's exactly what happened. The E-drag went down. Unfortunately, I think I missed the barb barrel with my skellies there, but I have another Xbow alive. He goes for an Inferno Dragon Balloon, so that's actually why I didn't go and keep my Xbow push going with his Tesla, because if I did that, he probably could have ignored it and maybe won off this push. I don't know for sure, I obviously didn't want to try it out and risk it when I'm at 17 wins in the 20-win challenge, so instead I go for the safer play, pull the Xbow, pull the balloon and Inferno Dragon in, and he goes for a Tesla, a freeze, and here's where I'm confused, because previously, as far as my knowledge goes, a balloon will ignore a frozen underground Tesla. That's always been the way it worked. So I'm surprised that it still went to the Tesla. I guess it was like really close to the closing animation or something. I can't think of any other reason. But it still gets pulled. So you'll notice that I fireball. And that was honestly not even a bad fireball, because what should have happened was the balloon should have ignored my Tesla and gone on to my tower. And so what I would have done was fireballed it back. And that was just my instinct. And from my experience, that's the play I made. I still stand by it, because I don't know why that happened. But there's still really no downside to that. I'm still up a lot, playing it very safely. Here I pre-Tesla again, and he's probably going to build a push. Notice that I knight pretty far away from my Tesla and everything else, because I don't want him to be able to get the E-drag to chain on everything. So that's just why I separate it. And I go for an offensive Xbow. Actually get a really good connection here. So sometimes you can go defensive Xbow if you want to be safe, but there I felt comfortable going with an offensive Xbow, especially because I had my archers, and it worked out really well. So I go for a knight to block, and I get a huge connection. So now I really have no stress. It's triple elixir, and the pushes are about to get pretty big, but as long as I defend really well, there will be no issues at all in this matchup. So I just get really nice firewall value and everything. Ice Spirit to make sure that Inferno doesn't take my tower. You kind of always have to be wary if they have freezing cycle of their Inferno dragons, just because one Inferno dragon freeze, if you don't have a fireball or Ice Spirit in hand, that push can destroy the entire game and ruin it for you, so you have to be aware of that. Here I go for another Xbow, and because of his Barb Barrel, he doesn't actually have enough to play a bowler in time, because he's only at 3 elixir, even though it's triple. I take out his Barb Barrel fast enough that I get another connection, and it's pretty much over at this point, because I have such a huge lead. Pretty sure I can take a balloon hit and still be in the lead. So he's just spamming a lot of troops at the bridge. Nothing against him, he kind of had to do that, but it's just not going to work against me. And I can just go archers, Tesla. Again, notice that I'm separating everything really well, just because I don't want him to get any value. And he gives me the well played. I would say I played it pretty well. We were being pretty polite to each other, and it was just a pretty good game overall. I mean, I hard countered, or I don't know the exact matchup percentage, but that's kind of a match that you should always win with Xbow in any case. And I did, so that was my 17th win. Now we have one against double spawners, and I know a lot of people don't know how to beat double spawners with Xbow, and so this is exactly how I'm going to show you how to beat it. Although spawners are all getting nerfed, but I'm actually really proud of the way I learned how to play this matchup, just from experience. So let's go into it and see exactly how I did it. Now this version has, this deck has 2 versions. Usually it has Mega Knight or E-Barbs in that 1 card slot. This time he had E-Barbs. I just fireball his Goblin Hut. There's no real downside. I take some Spear Goblin chip, but I go for skeletons to offset that, and I even log the rest of them. And I actually take 2 Barb Barrel hits in the left, which was maybe a mistake, but I think because I already cycled my skeletons, I didn't want to commit a full archers or knight to the Barb Barrel, so I just took it instead. And now he has a flying machine coming down. I'm probably just going to Ice Spirit on it. Again, as I said before, in that matchup against Golem, let the flying machine cross onto your side, and then defend it so that the tower's targeting it too. Here I go in, just because he already cycled a furnace in the back, and I know he kind of has to play a cannon cart so I can predict it with a knight. Unfortunately, I think I was a bit late with my knight, but if I wasn't, then this would have been a really good push, I would say, since Xbow would have been pretty much full HP, and it probably would have killed the Mother Witch too, but that's fine. You can see I'm taking some damage. I'm even down quite a bit, but I'm still not really panicking at all in this situation. And Center Tesla is the name of the game in this matchup. It'll defend the Fire Spirits from the Furnace, it'll defend the Spear Goblins from the Goblin Hut, and it won't get damaged in the process. So I like to do a lot of pre-Teslas in the middle. One thing you have to be careful of is if they snipe it with a flying machine or a cannon cart. They can do both, but it's a really good play overall, and I really like to make it. So I go for a knight here just to kind of tank, and I might fireball that flying machine. Yeah, I do. So notice that I'm down elixir, and down damage as well, but I started switching lanes to the left lane, and the reason for that is because in this matchup I always like to go same lane. Normally with Xbow you wouldn't really hear that statement, you would usually want to be going opposite lane to your opponent, but in this matchup I've learned that it's really good to go same lane as the opponent, mostly because you won't really be going in at all. If you're going in with an Xbow, then sure, maybe opposite lane would be good, but otherwise, in this matchup, you're probably going to be playing defensive Xbows, defensive Teslas, and spell cycling pretty much the entire time. So if if you're going with that game plan, which is the game plan that I've learned works best, you want to be able to log cycle in the same lane, and that's why I say that's the best play. So I fireball his flying machine and officially start switching my focus to taking his left side tower instead. And you'll notice that he snipes my Tesla with his cannon cart, which is again a pretty good play. I respect it by him. I go for Skellies and Ice Spirit to fully deny the spears. Unfortunately, I was a bit late on the Ice Spirit. Some small micro mistakes, and I'm down 500 damage. But I can still come back pretty easily. So I fireball, and notice that I Tesla, not in the middle, but this time I moved it a bit. That's because his cannon cart's still alive, and if I played the standard Tesla placement, it would have gotten sniped. So it's just kind of an adjustment that I made. You always have to be ready and careful of those. He goes for a flying machine. I just go for defensive expo now. I'm pretty much happy to defend the whole game. And that's really how you want to play this matchup. You don't want to give them any spell value same lane. So notice that I went defensive expo on my right side so that he couldn't fireball my left side tower. And I'm already up in damage. You'll notice that I caught up. Going with a lot of these center Teslas and defensive Xbows. Probably going to go for an Xbow right now. He gets one Spear Goblin hit, which is unfortunate. I'm just waiting for that Goblin hut to die before I pop my log. There it is. He tries to snipe my defensive Expo. I can just go archers. And I'm already up again. And I can fireball. He wants his spawners to be going in this lane. And so that's why I say going same lane is the best, because you can get fireball value on their spawners, and you can get log value. Now he's going to go with E-Barbs at the bridge. That's really good log value on pretty much everything. But this situation is a bit scary right now. He's kind of overwhelming, and he has an E-Barb, a Mother Witch, and a cannon cart coming down. I'm pretty sure, if I had to guess just by looking at this, that I fireball everything, and that would be the best case, I think. Yeah, I fireball everything. I don't want to take any risks with cannon carts. That card can single-handedly ruin this matchup as well. If you let one cannon cart lock on, it'll probably be the end. So it's fine to take a few kind of incidental groups of damage by, say, the spawners, like I did here and there, but you don't want to ever let the cannon cart lock on. So that's why I was really wary of it. I probably overcommitted to it, but I don't regret it, because I don't want that card to ever hit my tower in this matchup. And now I'm just going with a defensive expo and chilling, and it's just going to be defense for the rest of the game. As you can see, he has cannon cart, E-Barbs, and Barb Barrel. Really good answers to my expo, so there's really no benefit at all of going in when I can just defend and win in a much safer way. I go for a lower Tesla, and I probably fireball the flying machine. I don't need to always be getting fireball value on his tower, especially because I can catch up in damage with my log cycle. He also doesn't really have a way of killing my Teslas without sniping them or fireballing them. And ideally, if you're playing smart enough defensive expos, you're going to be forcing them to fireball anything else. Here's getting a decent fireball on my archers, but I kind of wanted him to, because I know based on my tower health that I can take a fireball. It was actually really unfortunate that I took a barb barrel hit there, but I can still come back. If he fireballs me and I fireball him, and I log, I'm still going to be up in damage. So I'm still not really panicking, just making sure I defend. I probably fireball his tower now, and so this is going to be his last push. Mother Witch unfortunately locks onto one skeleton first, but I go for a knight to tank for the flying machine. And I actually fireball on defense here. I spent like a second thinking about it, but I realized, 15 seconds are still left. I can still get back to another fireball on his tower, and so it's worth for sure. So I log fireball on defense, and you can see I'm already back to fireball. So I fireball on his tower, and that's a really nice win against spawners. So that's kind of my blueprint against spawners, how I like to play the matchup. It kind of differs. I would say it's easier with E-Barbs compared to Mega Knight, because Mega Knight is a really annoying card, and you kind of need Knight for it almost all the time. But it's still the exact same game plan regardless of the variation. So that's how I dealt with spawners for 16 wins. Here's a game against LavaLoon for my 15th win. And I still have quite a few replays, but I just noticed that this video is already like 49 minutes long. If you're still watching, by the way, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a really long video, and you definitely don't have to watch. In fact, most people who watch this video probably won't be at this part. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and I'm probably not going to do every single replay, or I might do these replays in really fast time since I'm running out of time. Let's go into this LavaClone one at double speed, I guess. LavaClone is a lot easier with Electro Spirit compared to Ice Spirit, for obvious reasons, bats, and just a bunch of clone stuff. You're going to want an Electro Spirit for that. I take one Flying Machine hit there because I didn't really have a choice, and this is a play that I like to make a lot, in this matchup especially, because I don't really have a great cycle, right? I don't want to Knight into his Lavahound. That would just be counterintuitive. He would get support cards behind, and it would just kill my Knight. I would get absolutely zero value from that. And if I went for a pre-cycled Tesla, it would be a decent play, since his lava would be coming into it, but Tesla got its lifetime nerfed, as you guys know. Unfortunately, it's just constantly getting hit with nerfs. But it also would take a lot of lifetime draining by the time the Lavahound crosses the bridge, so I don't want to play it early and have it be much lower health, because I cycled it early, so instead I'm going to force out his Skarmy, and I can just Tesla, and I don't need to respond to the Skarmy, because the Tesla helps out a lot. Here, I'm going to slow it down a bit. I wait for the Lavahound to pop, and then I go for a Fireball. Unfortunately, I just barely miss my timing, but my archers are alive, thankfully, really huge. I took a lot of damage there, but you'll notice that I have an archer counter pushing, and my opponent's lower elixir than me, so I'm going to go in. He's going to Lumberjack, and he actually missed. I think I would have preferred if he hit the Lumberjack, in all honesty, because I want the Xbow to take care of that. I don't want to have to worry about it. I think I probably would have taken his entire tower if that was the case, or it would have forced something else out. But you'll notice that I had log in hand, and while I could have definitely logged the Lumberjack, I didn't want to, since I know he has Skarmy, and I need the log for the Skarmy. So that's just kind of an awareness situation where I know what his deck is, and I don't want to be able to give him a situation where he messes up my cycle. So instead, I just don't log, and I go Archer same lane as his Lavahound. If he kills them, or if his support kills them, I can get back to another pair pretty easily, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm in the damage lead now. I go for a Tesla, a bit higher up, and I probably just Fireball that right away. So he's probably going to go for a clone now, but he did waste his bats, not back to bats right away. And I'm getting back to my archers, and you can see I'm already back to a Fireball. So this is a lot of stuff clumped up, but a really great Fireball if I take it. And I wait for the clone. You'll see that there's so much Swarm on the map right now, but one good Fireball and I hit pretty much all of it. Baby Dragon gets 2 hits on my tower, but that's completely fine. You'll now notice that I'm up with these 2 archers. We're about even elixir, and I have a great counter push. He's going to be forced to scramble. This is a small detail that I kind of noticed in my gameplay and I started doing, and it is logging on the Skarmy. When they split a Skarmy, they're usually going to Skarmy more on the opposite lane than the same lane, because they're just going to give you log value. So what I've noticed is that you'll see here there are about 5 skeletons in the left, and just counting about 9 in the right. And so it's a lot better to log the ones on the right, since the Xbow will 2-shot the ones on the left. And you'll see that I get a connection because of it. So just a very small detail, logging that Skarmy on the right instead of the left, that really paid off. And I pretty much take his entire tower now. Now he's getting really desperate. Instead of wanting to build a big Lavahound push, he's just kind of standing at the bridge, and it's not working at all. So I've pretty much realized that I've won at this point. That is just going to be a Fireball. Lava at the bridge is not going anywhere anytime soon, and Knight will tank for his Flying Machine. So just a really nice win. Cycle back to my Fireball, and I did give him a bit of DM, just because it's Lava Clone, and I don't even have Electro Spirit, so I'm happy with that win. But I would say the Fireball version of that deck is easier than Arrows, because Arrows is a perfect 3-for-3 counter to my archers. Fireball is 4, a bit more expensive, and overall just more annoying to deal with. So here's probably the last match, I guess, that I'll analyze at full speed, because we're just closing in on an hour of recording time. But this is a game against Furia, who's playing LavaLoon, Miner, and it's actually a pretty annoying deck, not overall, but in terms of Xbow's ability to deal with it. Just because he has Inferno Dragon, which is a card that's really good. You'll notice that if there's a big push coming in, you don't really have a way of DPSing down the Inferno Dragon except for Archers and Tesla. And most of the time, the Lavahound's going to be tanking for that. So Inferno Dragon's a card that is pretty hard to deal with for Xbow decks, comparatively, of course. I'd much prefer that he had Mega Minion instead. He actually has both Inferno and Mega Minion, which is weird, but he also has Valk and Tombstone, so he has a lot of kind of answers to my Xbow to tank for it. A lot of ground cards, he has Valk, Tombstone, and Miner, and he has arrows for my archers, so I was honestly probably not having a great time when playing this matchup, since I'd much rather play, for example, classic LavaLoon with no Miner, no arrows, or at least a LavaLoon Miner deck that doesn't have so much ground with both Valk and Tombstone. Usually they'd have only Lava, Tombstone, and Miner, in my experience, but him having another small tank in the Valk really makes it a bit more annoying. But here I play Archer's same lane as his Inferno, because I know that it's a Lava deck. He goes for a pretty aggressive Lava right in front, and he's just going to arrows on my Archers. Here you'll see another kind of Xbow fundamental, which is separating all your troops. I separate my skeletons really far up comparatively to my archers, and that's so that I can avoid him getting any kind of spell value, because I knew he was probably going to go for a spell. Didn't know that he had arrows, but it was just a good overall fundamental play that worked out regardless of what spell he had. So that's just another thing to take note of. Xbow, Tesla's DPSing down, and I fireball everything back. I was really worried about if he had a zap there. Thankfully he didn't, but either way, he's getting a ton of damage, and I had to waste my archers again, so really not an ideal situation for me, I would say. He is going to be forced to respond to these archers, so let's see if I go in here or if I just reset. I probably just reset, because I wasn't even up that much. Actually I go in, because I recognized I was up Elixir. I didn't know he had Valk either, that was pretty annoying. I went for a Knight to stop it, and then he also had Balloon. And here I make the same play that I was talking about in the Miner Balloon Cycle deck, where I fireball the Balloon back on the Xbow, which lets me get a bit more of a connection. I'm down a bit now, but my cycle's not really that bad. I'm one card away from my archers, which I can play into his Lavahound, and we're resetting. So as for Tombstone, I probably log it. That's a play that I saw Dank Ganon do way back in the day, and I think that's just what I'm accustomed to now, so I just log Tombstones when I see them. And I go in now with an Xbow, because if he wants to go for arrows on my archers, he's not really going to have any elixir for my Xbow, so I'm kind of wanting to put him in an awkward spot. Also because I went for that previous Xbow, he didn't have Valkyrie Cycle. And I go for skeletons and Tesla, just really defending this Xbow. And this is a placement that I really love. This placement makes the Lavahound stay at the bridge, the Tesla is tucked behind the Xbow, and it hits the Lavahound. So it's just a perfect placement overall. Take note of this placement against any kind of lava deck. And I'm already back to archers as well, by the way, so that's why I played archers before my Xbow. He's going to make a pretty smart play of going opposite lane with a Valk Balloon. I'm probably just going to Skellies on the Miner and then get back to the Tesla, which I do. And Ice Spirit. Ice Spirit was unfortunately wasted, so that got a bit dangerously close, but if I hit the Ice Spirit, that would have been a lot better of a defense. Either way, it was a pretty good defense, and I'm in the lead now. So I go for archers. He notices that I don't have Tesla in cycle, which is pretty awkward. I'm back to it now, so I'm going to Tesla. And he goes for arrows, barely missing my Tesla. I go for a Knight, back to archers, and I don't think I'll fireball. Yeah, I don't fireball yet. It's getting really close, though. Honestly, it's getting dangerously close. Maybe I should have fireballed all of that, because now I'm in a pretty tough situation where I'm down 300 damage against this deck that has a ton of ground cards, and a Lavahound, but thankfully I predict his Lavahound and go with an Xbow at the same time. He doesn't have enough for a Valkyrie, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he didn't have enough for a Valk. So I went for a Knight to protect from the Inferno Dragon, and I get a connection and go in. So if it wasn't for that prediction on his Lavahound, I probably wouldn't have been able to get the win, but I'm really glad that I did, because that was a huge situation for me. And I noticed that the recording has just gone over an hour now, so a really long video, but here's a match against Hog Lightning. I guess I'll play this in really fast time. This was below 10 wins, so players in the lower win range probably weren't very experienced with their deck, so it was a lot easier to outplay them, even if they had counters like this one. They had the Golden Knight too, which is pretty annoying, but I guess for a very aggressive Golden Knight at the bridge, which I don't know why he did, but I guess he thought it was a good play. He's going to go for a very aggressive Hog again, and he goes for a Lightning, so that's really bad by him, honestly, because look at our elixir difference right now. I'm at 6, and he's at 2. So I go for Skellies, because he has Skellies of his own, and that's going to be a lot of damage if I ignore it, but I'm probably going to go in very soon. I take some damage. I think I took like 1 Hog hit and the Lightning, but I'm going to Xbow. Also noticed that I waited till I hit 9 elixir to Xbow so that I could go for a Knight right in front, which I'm sure I do. And I give him the thanks, because he basically wasted his Lightning. Really not a fan of this matchup with Golden Knight, but really great for me. He Ice Spirits to reset, but I go for Archers, trying to bait out his Golden Knight stash. He actually doesn't do it, and I get a huge connection. That's basically game already, so we can just speed the game up, but moral of the story of this match was just punishing his aggressive Lightning, and I go in again, and I activate my King with the Firecracker. That's another play that you have to know in this matchup. Against any Firecracker deck, just activate your King. It helps a lot. Except for Firecracker with Xbow, I guess. That doesn't really do anything. But I'm going for Xbow Teslas. I'm just playing pretty sloppily. He predicts my Xbow right there, and that was a really bad Tesla, honestly. Well, I guess it was decent, because it would have sniped my own Tesla, but given the fact that I knew he had a Tesla up there, I went for a lower Tesla instead. And his Hog actually bypassed my Tesla, probably got pushed by something, but that really wasn't a big deal. And we just took the win, so pretty much when the opponent goes that aggressively, if you have a general sense of their elixir, you're going to be able to punish them and get a huge connection. So again, if I just went for an Xbow at 6, he probably would have just barely had enough for a Tesla, and that situation would have been really bad, because Tesla will fully defend an Xbow if they play it in time. So I waited till I had enough for a Knight, and then I went for it. So here's a match against the P.E.K.K.A Golden Knight deck. I'm assuming I didn't win in single like I did for my 20th win game, but we'll see what happens. Split Archers against Royal Ghost, just a play that I like to make. And I went for an Xbow. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this. Well, actually, I'm not sure, because I don't think it was that bad, since if I don't overcommit to this Xbow, I find out what he has. And I did have a surviving Archer, so I guess why not, but since it was lower in wins, I was playing pretty aggressively in general. That's probably another reason I went in. But I forced out his poison. I logged back, and I actually get a connection. And he's saying, wow. He goes for a Ram Rider. I just Tesla Ice Spirit. Probably didn't even need the Ice Spirit, but just playing it safe. And I actually got a pretty big connection off that Xbow, so I guess it was really worth going for. Pretty unlucky if my opponent did not have Barbarian Cycle. And, whoa, he just... Okay. He cycled a Golden Knight in the back. I went for an Xbow. Because if you look at his hand right now, he already played a P.E.K.K.A. So he has only Ewas and Mother Witch. So I go in right away. And his Barbarian's late. I catch it with a Knight. And I get a really nice log on everything. Xbow is probably going to fully take care of this Golden Knight. Actually, I went for Skeletons. he plays Mother Witch, and unfortunately for him, doesn't get anything out of it. So this guy actually, honestly, this opponent lost in single as well. At the start, it was kind of unfortunate for him because he didn't have Barbarian Cycle, so he took a lot of damage. But the second time, don't think he should have cycled a Golden Knight, since it would be a lot better to have that for the Xbow. But in any case, I'm counting Elixir. I know that he doesn't have enough for a P.E.K.K.A, so I'm going to go in with an Xbow at 6 and get a connection. And he's going to P.E.K.K.A, but it's not enough. And I'm not going to go for a Knight to block it. I know that the Xbow is basically going to take tower or close to it, so I'm just going to let it die. Go for archers, log the P.E.K.K.A back. I even go for skellies, which is honestly an overcommitment. It would have been a good play if he went for a poison or something, but since he didn't, that was an overcommitment. But it is just about to be double elixir in any case, so it's fine. If he goes in, I have enough for Tesla right now, and that's pretty much the game. So I actually misplaced that Tesla as well, which is pretty awkward, but I fireball everything into it just to make sure. He goes for a pretty smart Mother Witch to deny my skeletons on his Royal Ghost. And he goes for a P.E.K.K.A at the bridge now. He's up a lot of elixir, but if I just defend well, I'm going to be fine. I go for a last second Knight and log, and I can just go for skeletons or fireball. I still took a Ram Rider hit, but I was able to win. So that's how I beat this P.E.K.K.A Golden Knight deck. I figured that a bunch of people probably would have played against it in the challenge, and I've noticed that a lot of people have been requesting how to play against it with Xbow in my Discord server or in my comments, so I just wanted to include that game as well, since it was good. So that was my 9th win. We're at 1 hour 6 minutes, but just to finish off the video, here was my loss against LumberLoon Freeze, and it was in single elixir. And I think I know why I did this, so let's just watch, and you don't have to look at this as a kind of just, oh wow, he lost at 2 wins. I mean, yeah, I did lose at 2 wins, it was really bad of me, but I see it as a learning experience since I can find out what I did wrong and learn from it, and that's how you should always approach mistakes in this game. And so, let's find out exactly how I lost. I believe I didn't have a Tesla in hand, and I went for an Xbow or something. Defensive Xbow, then I couldn't pull the balloon properly, and I believe it was something like that, but let's see. It was actually right here. So he goes for LumberLoon, and I go for a I go for a Knight and Defensive Xbow. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I lose my tower here, but let's find out. I go for archers. Okay, yeah, so I see what happened. He goes for a freeze, and I lose. So what happened there was, first of all, I probably shouldn't have gone for a Knight. He goes for a LumberLoon, and I honestly could have just gone skeletons. Well, I already cycled skeletons, but okay, actually Knight was fine. Actually, I didn't. Actually, yeah, Knight was fine. Never mind about that. But the issue was, instead of going for a defensive Xbow, I could have gone for an Ice Spirit to freeze and then cycled back to a Tesla. Or, even right now, I could have gone, instead of going for Ice Spirit Archers, which honestly was the best play if I wanted to cycle through my deck really fast, but if I wanted to cover all options, I should have gone for a Tesla instead. Instead of going for Ice Spirit Archers, I was already back to it. Also, that was a really good barb barrel by him, since it kind of blocked off my archers from hitting his balloon. And so that's how he won. But basically what happened there was I should have gone for a Tesla instead of those archers. And that's basically how I lost. So I'm pretty sure I desperately tried to come back and take his tower, but I don't think anything happened or came out of it. So he's giving me the good luck. He's BMing me. I guess I deserved it because I made a pretty bad play. But yeah, he's giving me the good luck. I'm really not going in until I have a pretty good situation, but in this kind of one tower game, there is no good situation. Like right now is a pretty good situation because I'm up elixir and he doesn't have any tanks in hand. but I missed my knight as well. And even if I hit my knight, he would have gotten a barb barrel. I probably would have taken his full tower. And I was in a bad spot. He was laughing about it. But yeah, this game, this win was not happening. So there's no coming back from a loss like that. I'm still trying, because I don't usually like to give up, but yeah, it didn't happen. I was pretty mad about it, because it was at 2 wins. I lost so early on. But honestly, looking back at it now, it's definitely a good learning experience in that exact situation that I was in. I should have gone for a Tesla instead. And now, every time I'm in that situation again in the future, I'll know to go for a Tesla instead. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the video, guys. It is just over an hour and 10 minutes right now, so really long video. I wasn't expecting it would take this long. I thought it would take like half an hour or so. Quite unfortunate as well that I'm not doing it with my proper microphone, but I still hope the quality isn't too bad. Here is that really nice 20 win badge that I got. And I did also push to 7,712 trophies at the very last 3 or so hours of the season. I think I only lost twice from 7,400, so that was a really nice push. I'm not sure if I'll upload it or not, but I did record the games, so still deciding. But that's going to be the 20 win analysis. I really wanted to do this since I really liked how I played overall, and I thought it would be really nice to give you guys some insight into the decisions that are made, and I also really like to do live commentary if I'm feeling up to it, but unfortunately I did not have my microphone ready, so I couldn't have done it. And also I don't play as well when I'm commentating live. I can just play and commentate kind of sparingly, but I'd rather have the commentary be good as well. So I don't want to just blindly commentate and just say whatever is on my mind without really thinking about the best way to present it. But at the same time, if I focus too much on commentating, then it takes away from my ability to focus on the game. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation. I still like doing live commentary, but I think these kind of analysis videos that I do, I've only done 3, I think. I did, the last one, again, was against Goblin, Giant, Sparky, Miner. First one I ever did, which is also my first ever commentary video, was just about this time last year, I believe, against the Recruits Barbot deck. But yeah, I think this is a really nice way to look into the decisions that I made, and hopefully you guys enjoyed me explaining it as well. So if you're still watching at this point, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Either way, I hope you learned something today, and I hope this kind of video was helpful. Now, I'm not sure what I'll do for commentary since I still don't have my microphone fixed, but in the meantime, I guess I could always do these kind of analysis videos. And otherwise, I could probably try to do a live one with this kind of voiceover. It would be kind of hard, considering I have to speak into my phone. But I could try. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I apologize for the quality, but either way, this is just my push to 7,000, and this was the 20 win, so it did take me 5 tries. First time I wouldn't say I tried super hard. I was in a call with my friends, and we were all kind of racing to 20 wins, and instead of focusing, I was kind of just talking at the same time, so I played pretty badly. Not saying the losses weren't deserved, they were deserved, but that's why I lost so early on. Then I tried seriously, got 18 wins, but I believe the losses were my fault. I don't remember exactly, but then I got 16, then I got 15, and I didn't give up. I just took a small little break, continued at around 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was able to finally get the 20. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed the analysis, and if you enjoyed the 20 win challenge overall. How many wins did you get, and are you looking forward to if they do another one? I'm personally pretty happy they did it. I was able to get it on 3 accounts. In fact, I did also share my Xbow replays, which I also wanted to do commentary analysis on. Unfortunately, I believe maintenance will be tomorrow, so these will be gone, but if I can find time before the maintenance to do that video, I might do it, because Xbow is a deck that you really have to play well with against non-hard counter matchups. Like, if you don't hard counter with Xbow, your cycle is not as easy to manipulate as 3.0 Xbow Cycle, because you only have Skeletons as your cycle card, and you only really have Valkyrie as a tank, Skeletons to distract. But yeah, the cycle matters a lot, and it's really hard to play well. So I respect top ISO players a lot. Honestly, a lot of people think it's kind of brain dead and easy to play, but I assure you that in the 20-win challenge, there were, I don't know these numbers off the top of my head, but I believe there were about 60 or 70 maybe 3.0 Xbow Cycle, or Xbow Cycle with Archer Queen wins, 20 wins, and Icebow with Ice Wizard, not Archer Queen, that's a different version. I believe there were less than 20 victories overall. I was one of them. Really, really happy about it, especially on this account, because I really wanted to get the 20 wins with different Expo decks. But yeah, that's probably about enough rambling for now. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you'd like to see the Icebow analysis similar to this one. And yeah, I hope you have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.